Welcome to another episode of the Expansion of Consciousness. I'm your host, Jason Medlock, and we're excited today because we have a very special guest with us. Nate Zeleznick will join us today. Nate is a true pioneer and is one of the only two American master trainers of ancient raw Indonesian energy and martial arts system. Over the past 20 years, Nate has blended his profound traditional knowledge with cutting edge scientific methodologies by creating integrated ascension and white dove method. His revolutionary approach to personal development has been featured in documentaries by Netflix, Gaia, and Amazon Prime. And he has received accolades from professionals across the spectrum of disciplines, including medicine, physics, and neuroscience. Nate's journey in neuroscience abilities of overcoming severe bullying and emotional challenges in his youth to mastering energetic and martial arts is really, really inspiring. Today, hear and share, Nate will talk about all the ways to tap into superhuman capabilities and transform not only just physical, but on the mental and spiritual levels as well. Nate, I'm going to bring him in right now, but I want to welcome him to the show, and I want to thank him in advance for being a guest on Expansion of Consciousness. Let's go ahead and get Nate in here right now. Hey, Nate, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, Jason. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good. Same here. And we're gonna have a great show. I want to get this set up right, but we're gonna have a great show today. And we were chatting a little bit, and I had you on another show that I do, and it's about mindset and some of the things that you do with breath work also. But we both realized quickly, hey, we're going to do this show, but we're going to come back to the expansion of consciousness so that we can really dive into some of the wonderful things and the journeys you've been on. And speaking of journey, tell us how all this started.
All right. Well, the brief synopsis of the 24-year journey is growing up in a very small town in Utah as the only person in my grade that was not of the predominant religion. If you're familiar with Utah, then you know. And I was highly bullied. And I mean, this was back in the 70s and 80s where there was no bully prevention. It was boys will be boys. So I was in a lot of ways tortured by groups of older or just even larger boys because I was the smallest in my grade. I was an easy target. And then I was also, had some abuse from my mother at home. So I didn't really feel safe. So my spiritual journey really started at about age 12 when I had recently started thinking of suicide on a pretty regular basis. And then I started having out of body experiences. I started astrally projecting, and I wasn't quite sure what to make of it. I mean, what do you think? What do you do when you're a kid and there's nobody you can possibly ask about this? But they kept happening and they were not painful. As a matter of fact, they were so freeing that I kind of wanted to stay there forever. And so around the age of 16, when I was 16 and 3 days old, I got my first job. And with my first job and my first paycheck, the first thing that I had to buy was a book on out of body experiences. And I really started to dive deep down the rabbit hole of the psi or the non-local functions of consciousness, that phenomenon, which is not a phenomenon, it's just our intrinsic abilities. And when I did that, I really started to see, the CIA had trained psychic spies to spy on the Russians. The Russians had their own psychic spies in China as well, spying on us. But then looking at shamanism and different modalities and different ancient cultures throughout the world that had these amazing abilities. But, it's nice to read about those things. And when you're having something like this happen, you think, wow, anything is possible, even though, obviously, for me, there was no place I could go to actually find out how to do more. Well, fast forward to when I was 23, I ordered a course out of Black Belt Magazine, guaranteeing me inner power in 2 weeks or I could get my money back.
Right.
I was pretty enamored by that, the whole Western mindset, 2 weeks to mastering Qi. Awesome. So I ordered this course. It was completely bogus, as you can imagine. But it did show a videotape. It came with a videotape that showed Indonesian martial arts. And I'd been involved and in love with martial arts ever since I was knee high to a duck. I mean, once I saw my first ninja movies and Bruce Lee, and I saw Star Wars, I wanted to be a ninja Jedi. And the only way I could practice martial arts was on my younger brothers. They didn't appreciate that. But later, when I was actually able to train, I went pretty deep into it as much as I could while still going to college and working. But when I saw what these Indonesian people could do, I was floored. I mean, I'd never seen anything like it before. The movement styles, the martial arts themselves, completely unique in the world from anything I'd ever seen. And then it showed people who were able to do literally superhuman things. So when you think of martial artists, a lot of people think, well, the superhuman things that martial artists do are breaking a board or some bricks. But when I saw them breaking stacks of steel and stone and iron this thick, just barely touching them with a smile on their face, I was like, no way. That's incredible. But it's doable. I mean, with enough force, I'm sure it's possible. But then I saw something that shocked me to my core. And that was people who were able to do anything, and I mean anything that you or I do with our vision, fully capable, but they were blindfolded or they were blind. And they were driving cars through traffic. They were shooting targets from people's hands. And these are military people blindfolded with a hood on, shooting things out of people's hands. And it showed blind people who could read printed material. And I was so skeptical, Jason. I was so skeptical right off the bat. I was like, David Copperfield made the Statue of Liberty disappear. Could this possibly be real? Or Jedi's actually in the world? But I'd had enough of these out-of-body and mystical experiences to know that I'm much more than my physical body, so possibly. And then the next day, I watched a blind woman almost get killed in front of me. She was just trying to cross the street with her dog, and her dog led her face first into the light pole. And it hit me right then. I have to find those Indonesian people. I have to find them. I have to help her. I don't know why I was drawn, other than I can just call it a spiritual command. It wasn't a polite request. It was a command. So I reached out and I found these people, and I brought them over to America to do the very first demonstrations of this art, which is called, ready for it, Merpati Putih. Now, that sounds strange to us, but Merpati Putih in Indonesian means white dove. So this is the white dove system of energy development, martial arts, combat, also energetic healing, and extrasensory perception from the kings and the heirs of Java, Indonesia, from the central Javanese kingdom that was passed down for about 5 centuries from father to son to daughter, and then to son to son to son for, well, when I came across this, 11 generations. And now they're in the 12th generation. And so that's just a brief synopsis of where I'm at right now. For over 20 years, I owned one of the largest martial arts and meditation academies in the country with one of my younger brothers. And COVID put a stop to that, like it did for most of the martial arts and dance and fitness industry. And we went to a seminar format, teaching people who were willing to travel to us to learn these very advanced, amazing breathwork skills that no other system possesses. None that I've ever seen, not even close. And then about 1.5 years ago, we decided we had different visions for how we wanted to help the world. So we split in our business, and we're both out there in the world doing great things for great people. We're just serving different subsets of the populations of people who are looking for different things. I focus primarily on, yes, biohacking, vibroacoustic technology, and using 21st century technology with this breathwork technique. But honestly, Jason, I'm focused primarily on the spiritual nature of ourselves, not in just developing cool techniques that you can impress your friends with, because that's spiritual egotism. And I'm not about that. I'm not interested in that at all. I want to help people rise as the spiritual being having a physical experience that they really are. That's my only goal, is not transformation. It's actually liberation for people.
Mm. Well, we have a few things to unpack there. We're going to move on to talk more about the ascension method, and particularly the white dove method. But I want to move you backwards a little bit and talk about the out-of-body experiences.
Yeah.
I've had out-of-body experiences they were induced by me. They were induced by reading Dr. Bob Monroe, by reading Aaron Pavlin's book, The Out of Body, the Astral Projection Workbook, and YouTube. So I took from all that, okay, my higher self, my subconscious mind wanted me to have this experience because it happened while I was listening to an Akashic record meditation, trying to move my consciousness to the Akashic records, and literally popped out of my body after months of Nate trying to induce this experience. And it finally happened listening to an Akashic record meditation. So I get this vibration moving through my body, and this, it feels like a car starting. And all of a sudden the energy body disengages, and I'm staring at the body from the ceiling. Now I write about this experience, and I do a ton of research in my book, Empowered by Consciousness. But I want to unpack that a little bit, and I want to ask you about your first experience and what happened. Because when I was on the ceiling, I was trying to swim, Nate. I was trying to swim to the floor, and I couldn't move. But I remember that Bob Monroe would say, everything that you do out of the body is intelligent. You think it. There's no action because you're non-physical. You think it. So I said floor, and then I was on the floor. And I thought about being on the other side of the door, and I was on the other side of the door. And I did all of the checks that you're supposed to go through, observing my sons when they were in their room sleeping, and doing activities. When I got back into the body, wrote everything down, didn't say anything to them that night. The next day, then I went and asked them questions, wouldn't tell them what I wanted in particular, but just asked the questions. Hey, what were you doing? Hey, what position were you laying in? 2:00 in the morning, whatever. They gave me all the answers. I went back. It was spot on. So I know I was able to go back and quantify the experience I had. Can you go a little bit in depth before we start to get off into the white dove method and the ascension methods, and talk about those experiences?
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that, I just want to big props to you for actually following those protocols. When I was 11 and suicidal from being all this bullying, and around the age of 12, I don't remember exactly when this was. It was in that age range. And my first, for everybody out there, if you'd like to have a little bit of an imaginary experience, just imagine, if you can close your eyes right now, and imagine you're a kid and you lay down you're going to sleep. You lay down on your back and you pull your covers up over the top, and you just nestle them right by your neck. And you start to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth slowly. And as you do, you feel your body getting heavier and heavier and heavier, like your bedspread is a 100-pound weighted blanket pushing you down into your bed, to the point where you can't move your body. You try, but you're paralyzed. And it's not uncomfortable. It's not scary. And then, as Jason mentioned, kind of like a car starting,
Yes.
feeling this vibration inside you, radiating not from the inside out, but every single cell of the body, starting to vibrate, not with a sound, but if you've ever put your hand on an engine not a washing machine, that's too slow, but an engine that you can feel the vibration. Now imagine every single cell in your body doing that. And then it's not a sound, but if it were a sound, it would, for me, like a pop. And all of a sudden, I wasn't encumbered. I wasn't slowed down. I wasn't restricted by this slow, sticky, confining body. And I floated up out of my body, and I rolled over, probably 3 or 4 feet above my body. And I looked down at my body. And because of my mental state and where I was at with my mental health at that time, I was thanking God I was dead. I didn't have to come back. And then I did. I snapped back into my body, jerked awake. I was like, that was not a dream. That was okay. What the hell just happened?
Right.
And then it would happen every couple of days, couple of weeks. It
Mm.
was kind of random, but I get so excited about it. And the more excited I got about it, the more I expected it to happen, the more I put importance on it, the less it would happen, the farther out it would go. So it was really an exercise in surrender. And still to this day, I still get excited about it. And sometimes I need to remind myself to surrender into the experience, and what will be, and not to be hung up on the experience as much as the actual process, because it's in the doing that you actually step into the being. And for me, I use the out of body experiences, just full disclosure between you and me and millions of our closest friends listening to this, for a lot of people as well. They do this with, say, plant medicines, and they use it as an escape from the physical world and reality. And why that's a dangerous thing is because, as spirit or energy, consciousness that comes into a body in order to have an experience, well, experience is ongoing and you can't shut it off. But here's an important thing to remember for everybody out there, that if you look and you read the work of Dr. David Hawkins, he talks about, and for those of you who don't know, look him up. You will be Power versus Force, one of the most amazing books on the levels of consciousness and actual intrinsic power of different states of consciousness. When he talks about what we do as humans in order to get away from experiences we don't prefer, we'll repress things, we'll suppress things, we'll overexpress things, or we will distract ourselves from things, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, in order not to face and be one with ourselves and actually embody our own processes. Well, Jason, I would use the out of body experience in the attempts to go out of body in order to continue to try to escape the physical world,
Yeah.
because it was painful. The physical world is it has pain. When you don't have a body, you don't feel pain. You also have this contrast, these emotions, these dualistic experiences where, is it good or is it bad? Am I putting a label on it? What is actually good? What is actually bad? And that's a really big conversation. And at the highest levels, there's no such thing, right? But when you're a kid and you're getting your ass kicked on a daily, yeah, there's definitely a difference between good and bad.
Yeah.
And, for me, I just wanted more of the good. And so it's important to also realize that we're in a lot more than our physical body, but we came here for a reason.
Right.
And it took me a long time to step into the reality of that and the actual acceptance that, okay, you know what? I know where I'm going. And after I had a near death experience in 2007 during my martial arts test in Indonesia, which, it's not a strip mall martial art. This is the real deal. There's been a lot of people die on this test over the years. And I decided to come back to my body. I still had a mission to fulfill. And so for me, going out there, which is not actually out there, but going outside of the body and experiencing beyond the limits of this, I just make sure that I'm very cognizant and aware of why I'm doing it. Now it's for pure enjoyment, feeding my soul, education, looking forward to coming back into my body and experiencing this more, rather than just wanting to get away from it.
I got a question for you, and then we'll move on.
Sure.
So, Bob Monroe talked about leaving the body slowly. Or he was in the house, then he was on top of the house, then he was on top. He was looking at the city, and he would go to the outer realms of space, and then he would go to different dimensions. He started traveling. I mean, he wrote about it extensively. When you are, and here's my question, and I don't know, I'm not sure if you know or not, but what is the name of the realm just outside of the Earth? Is that called the
They called
I'm
it
just
Focus 21.
mhm,
Yeah. So Focus 10 is mind awake, body asleep. Focus
mhm.
12 is expanded perception. Focus 15 is no time. Focus 21 is the next level out from the physical.
Okay, so there's a realm before what Anyway, I was in a class. I mean, I had already experienced it. I wrote about it, and I said, you know what? Let me take a class on it so that I can learn the meditative method, the rope method, the turn, the rollout method. Let me just get all these methods down. Let me get in a formalized class. So there was a student in the course I took, Nate, that he left the body and went to a realm. He was able, then he met up with his spirit guides, and they showed him his body and all these red spots, and they showed him how to heal the body while he was out of the body. And I was wondering, have you ever heard of any methods out there like that? Because he was able to heal. He said that he could see all these red areas, and he smoked cigarettes, and he did all kind of stuff, and he could see the areas, and he was able to heal his body while he was outside of the body. And it was a layer just before you leave this earth dimension or whatever, and I forgot the name of it. It's so, and I've heard of the term a lot, but have you ever heard heard of something like that?
Well, there would possibly be the astral realm.
Astral realm, that's it. You said it. It's the astral realm.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things in that plane that are very similar to this one. The
Right.
objects tend to emit light, and we see them. We perceive them as emitting their own light, which is really a beautiful thing. And so it's just one little phase shift outside of the physical, but it is non-physical. And to that point, this is an interesting thing.
Mhm.
So everything is information, frequency, and vibration, right? So
Right.
if we think of, let's say, a radio, okay, so a radio, you tune your dial. Sorry, I'm that old. We're that old. We remember a dial. Tune your radio to, let's say, 98.7 FM. If you go to 98.8, you don't hear 98.7. Now, if you can imagine that on an infinite scale going in all directions of frequency, that if you just modulate just a little bit, you're no longer in this realm, you're in a different kind of realm. And that blows the mind, right? And there's no need to try to, I'm going to go to all of them. No. And plus, you also exist in all of them simultaneously. But this is a difficult thing for most people to really wrap their heads around, that they feel that I have 3D awareness. I have up, down, left, right, and forward and backwards. Those are the three dimensions, right? A fourth dimension being time. Okay, so I experience 4D. But when you start to attenuate yourself, or even just consider the possibilities that we are infinite beings living in an infinite universe of possibilities, light, frequency, information, and vibration, it makes your brains leak out your ears just a little bit, you know? And so the interesting thing about this is that if you look at Dr. David Hawkins' work and you look at the levels of consciousness, the actual output of consciousness, you've got the levels below on his calibration scale, 1000 being the level of, say, Jesus, Buddha, Zoroaster, and Krishna, the avatars, and the lowest vibrational or energetic state, not vibrational frequency, but the lowest energetic output state of consciousness being shame, which is at 20. So it's a scale of 0 being dead to 1000 being the highest level of enlightenment that a person or a being can attain while in human form. There's this bridge at level 200 where you move from pride into courage. Once you reach the level of courage, then you step into these levels of consciousness where, as a conscious being, you are outputting and giving more energy than you are taking. All of the ones below that, whether it's anger, fear, pride, jealousy, grief, shame, apathy, those are taking. So they are using force to try to move through their world, and they are taking more than they are giving. Once you get to things like courage, reason, love, joy, peace, and then finally to enlightenment and the ineffable, which there are very few people ever reach that, regardless of what they say on their YouTube or their Facebook channel. The thing is that as we do this and we start to understand this broader spectrum of consciousness and of existence, it just becomes less, I believe, about what station you're on and more about I am part of and all of these things.
Right. Right. Yeah, quite interesting. We put enough time into it. That's why I love this show, and I want you to come on. But let's get to the white dove method. And I know that you mentioned that you and your brother are looking at different ways to move your careers along, and you more so are merging some of the ancient teachings with modern science. How are you merging the white dove method? This ancient martial arts creation with modern scientific principles.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, one thing that I'm doing is I'm not teaching the martial art itself anymore.
Mhm.
The actual, I mean, it's a war art. It's bone breaking, nerve attacks. I mean, it's not really meant for sport, although it is used for sport now. Of course, it's toned down like many of the martial arts were. But what I teach is the breath work. Now, the interesting thing, breath work is the fastest growing holistic modality in the world.
Mhm.
And what that means is that a lot of people know about it or they think they know what it is. And unfortunately, we used to see this back in the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s, the mail order black belts. The people who would get something off a black belt magazine, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I could teach this. I'm going to open my own dojo. I'm a 7th degree black belt because I trained for 2 weeks." That is rampant in the world now with breath work because, hey, I can breathe. But the people who have never actually done the work, they've actually never gone through the struggles. They've not learned what to do if you have a medical emergency with a student or how to prevent that or to see that coming. And they're, in a lot of ways, endangering people. There are some big lawsuits, I'll just put it that way, out there in the world right now for breath workers who have gotten their people hurt or dead.
Mm.
So that's an important distinction. That breath work is not breath work is not breath work. That's like saying exercise is exercise. No, there's calisthenics. And then when you come to the white dove method, you're talking about the most elite CrossFitters and powerlifters. It's no joke. So it has to be done in a very controlled and very supervised manner. And so I do have online courses that people can do. They can actually take them into this and start feeling amazing things and literally electrifying all of their cells and giving it a greater electric charge immediately. But for the really high level stuff, it's just like anything else. You got to have a spotter. And so that's why I do one-on-one coaching with like elite athletes, with the CEOs, with influencers, with actors, actresses, etc.
Right.
So people who really want to learn and want to go deep with me, they can. Now that said, Jason, this is an important, really, really important thing that people understand. When it comes down to your health and your longevity, the number one most important thing is your breath. But it's not just your breath, it's your actual lung capacity. That's been shown to be the number one indicator for longevity and disease prevention in huge studies. And yet, most people on the planet, over 90%, only use about 15% of their lungs. That's it.
Hmm.
Now, when we expel toxins from our body, a lot of people are like, I'm going to go on a colon cleanse, or I'm going to go on a juice fast and a juice cleanse. 70% or more of all the toxins in your body are expelled through your breath. So if I ask the listeners out there and the viewers, how is your breathing? If you're not breathing fully, you're not breathing properly, you're not doing breath work techniques that actually expand your lung capacity, which Wim
Right.
Hof and the other hyperventilation, they don't. But if you're not doing that, what you're doing is you're just stockpiling the toxins and poisons in your body, which lead to all kinds of fun things that we like to call dis-ease. So what if there was a way? What if there was a way that you could take 10 minutes every single day to detox, feel amazing, literally like you have electricity running through your body, because you do, something that wouldn't go against your principles, wouldn't go against your beliefs, would not force you to do anything other than have the faith in your own self to actually get off your ass and do something for 10 minutes. This is important. Only if you want to be alive and want to have a long, healthy health span and fun span. If not, that's okay too. That's your experience. But that's my mission, Jason. That's why I came back. When I died, I came back to help people, not to be their savior, not to be their guru, but to show them they are their own savior. They are the guru. They are the medicine. And to show them a way where they can unlock the pharmacopoeia in themselves, energetically and physically.
Beautiful.
So the white dove method, it's a very specific combination. There's no way somebody would like fall down the stairs and oh, I know all this stuff. It was not by accident. It was hundreds of years of trial and error to have very specific body postures mixed with a unique type of breath locking and holding and pressurization of the pulmonary system that creates electricity in our body. And then using our mind in very specific ways with meditations that even if people have had trouble meditating their whole life, and I'm not talking about having people lead you through meditations. Those are more hypnosis than they are actual meditation. Mm-hmm. But I mean real meditations that you can do based upon your own biorhythms. And if you want meditations that work very quickly, this is a system. So for energy maintenance, energy building, and energy consciousness, I've never seen anything like this. And that's just the first part of what I do. And then I put in the 21st century tech and we just go vertical with it. It's pretty awesome.
Wow. So Nate, your methods have been pretty much validated by experts across scientific fields. And, I just get this information from just reading your bio. Can you share some insights in what findings have been most significant?
Sure. Well, so when I brought the vibrational scale over to help blind people see back in 99, and my brother and I have walked that path for a long time, we were able to get some people who, I'll be fully forthright and honest. Not everybody can do the blindfolded seeing thing. Very few people can. Most kids can, but once we get older and our neural pathways get set more deeply in there, it's really hard to turn that a road going this way into a freeway going this way. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of discipline, and a lot of very specific training that full out most adults are not A, going to have the time to do, B, going to have the discipline to do. It's a very, very, very tough road, but it is possible. So we were able to get some people who could do that. And then we went to optometrists. We went to some of the most well-known neuroscientists and quantum physicists and physicist, doctor of radiative energy transfer, and showed them it's possible to see with your mind.
What did they say?
When they picked their jaw up off the floor,
right?
We got a lot of testimonials, we'll put it that way, that this should not be possible, and yet I'm seeing it. Right. And it really comes down to the 100 monkeys effect. Now there are all kinds of different schools throughout the world teaching people this blindfolded or this ability to see without sight. Almost all of them focus on working with children, though, because children are able to most naturally do that because their brains have more plasticity at that time. And a lot of them won't even touch adults. But I've only ever seen a couple adults from anywhere else in the world be able to do it. And that's okay, because this is what's cool about the white dove method and the Marpati Putti, the breath work and the consciousness development is maybe your skill is not seeing without your eyes.
Right.
Jason, maybe your skill is energetic transference for healing, or maybe it's remote viewing, or maybe it's out of body travel. Maybe it's remote hearing and you can pick up on conversations accurately from 1,000 miles away. When it comes down to quantum mechanics, there's no distance, there's no time, there's no space, right? And consciousness being non-local and a function in the quantum, it can pretty much go anywhere, do anything. And like Bob Monroe said, mankind's biggest limitation is belief, or man's biggest limitation is believing he is in any way limited. And that's true. And so that's what this does, is in a step-by-step fashion, helps people to break down the walls and the limitations that they've put upon themselves, society's put on them, their parents, their religion, their whatever, and start to open up that paradigm of what if. What
And
if?
see, I would think that the kids would be more susceptible because they don't have those limitations, Nate, in their
There are
minds, in their
to some
construct.
extent.
Their construct, they don't know what it is yet. So I'm thinking, of course, the kids are able to experience, this particular modality in a way that adults couldn't, or have a harder time experiencing.
Funny story. A good friend of mine that I'm actually co-creating an event in Sedona, Arizona in September with. He's a famous sports trainer and nutritionist. Well, he came through our program, paid a lot of money to come through the program when I was working with that company. It's quite pricey. And he got some great results. He goes home, puts his blindfold on his daughter, who's like 7 or 8, and she did way better than him. He's like,
Wow.
what the hell? I just paid all this money and busted my butt for a week in Utah, and she just does it. It was like, yes. But see, the thing is so much of our, and this is going down different, I could say different rabbit hole of spirituality. When it comes down to the elevation of consciousness, it's not about comparing yourself to someone else, because as infinite, unlimited, eternal being, as the one, all of us are simply aspects of the one, having different experiences. That's all we are. If we're jealous of the success of another person, that's a reflection that we're jealous of the success of ourselves. And this is a huge concept, and maybe it blows people's mind and people think I'm full of crap, and that's fine. I'm always happy for someone's success, whether they're a 7-year-old who can see without their eyes, or there's somebody who just got a new Bugatti, or there's someone who is now 3 years sober. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm happy for everyone having their experience, even if it's a hard experience, because we all choose those. It's not always our goal line, but it is always our soul line. Always.
You mentioned, Nate, your personal journeys, and which included overcoming significant obstacles. How do you incorporate your life experiences into your coaching and teachings?
One of the best things is stories. People love stories. That's why we've always loved stories since the dawn of time. People would go out and hunt the bear, and they'd come back and tell the story of killing the bear, and people would be enraptured with it. So one of the ways that I like to do that is through my experiences, especially if there are people that I'm talking to that are going through something similar. Maybe it's bullying. Maybe it's the thoughts of checking out early. Maybe it's mental health issues. Maybe it's depression. Maybe it's PTSD. Maybe some of the things that I've worked through and I've faced and continue to work on and face, and giving them hope through stories. That's one of the best things that I can do. Beyond that, because if it's all just motivation, that's nice. But, one of the best things you can do for depression is work out, right? And that's because we've now found these things called hope molecules, that your muscle tissues, your muscle fibers are actually almost like endocrine organs, where when you flex them and tense them, they release feel-good chemicals into your body. So when you work out, you're actually giving yourself a shot of feel-good chemicals through every single one of your muscle fibers, not just your endocrine glands, but through your muscles. And so when we do the white dove method, and it involves tension, it's not just sitting down and huffing and puffing till you see God or pass out. This is strong, powerful, tense movements. We release so many hope molecules. It's incredible. So I don't have any facts and figures on how many are being released, but I could say, well, if you're going to have muscular tension, you can't really tense your body much more than through the white dove method. And That's why every time people do it, whether they're feeling sick, whether they're on top of the world, they feel 100 times better than when they started. Guaranteed, full stop. There's no doubt about it, because your whole body chemically and energetically just got an upgrade.
So we know that the technique that you're using, the breath work in your breath work program is basically revolutionary, and we get that. But what specifically makes it different from the other breathing practices that are taught maybe in yoga or meditation?
Sure.
You know, so we can just get down to the specifics in this, with this white dove technique.
Yeah. So some of the things that make it really quite unique, first of
Mhm.
all, is the fact that we, in yoga, most of yoga breath work is maybe it's breath of fire and they're breathing really, really fast, but most of
Mhm.
it, pranayama, is very slow breathing, or they hold their breath and lock their breath up, or they lock it down. They use their muscles to lock their breath in different parts of their lungs, or they feel like they're doing it anyway. And they do it for short durations. In the White Dove method, what we do is we pressurize the entire circulatory system in a way that, if you're familiar with Joe Dispenza's work, and he talks about, and I'm sure a lot of people out there are, he talks about when you do the pulling the mind out of the body technique, where you do what is in yoga called mula bandha. Mula bandha is the root lock, or squeezing the perineum, the space in between spaces down there, and you push the cerebrospinal fluid up through the spinal column into the third ventricle of the brain, and you push this and pressurize the crystals in the pineal gland, and you get these little rhomboid crystals just crunched together. They create a piezoelectric effect. So they are creating electricity, right? But when you exhale quickly and you drop the pressure of the cerebrospinal fluid out, when you take salt in solution in protein and you accelerate it, you get what's called an inductance field of energy. Now, every wire in your house has an inductance field around it. That's why you could take a voltmeter and you could test the wire just by touching the outside, or you can see it, you can feel this because it has an inductance. That's why we also have insulation. It's probably good to keep that in there. Well, imagine, instead of doing that just around your spinal column, which is about 3 feet, it's big, right? But imagine, Jason, if you're able to take that and do that same process with 60,000 miles of blood vessels.
Mm.
If you remember The Matrix, great documentary, by the way, if you get a chance to watch The Matrix again, it really is it's a documentary more than just a movie. At the end, when Neo jumps into Agent Smith and blows him up, and the other agents are looking at him, and he just flexes his muscles, and you see the walls of the Matrix go boom, 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 like this, like he's actually affecting the matter around him with his mind. When you do the White Dove method, when you get done, you feel like you're Neo doing that. You feel like, wow, I just tapped into the matrix of consciousness. And the thing is it doesn't take decades. For some people, it takes minutes when they're ready. But it's hard, but it also is very safe when done properly, which a lot of methods out there are not. And there are people that are in asylums for life because they were instructed to go too far too fast, and they blew a gasket, because you can't send, I've got a speaker wire right here. You can't send 3,000 volts through this and expect it not to fry.
Right.
So that's another thing that we do, is we make the energy lines, not only let's say the Sushumna down the center line with the chakras, but also all of the meridians through the body. We make them much stronger, able to handle more voltage, or joules, if you will. And that makes a huge difference when it comes down to our ascension as consciousness. Nobody wants to go to, if you've ever ridden your bike and went off a jump you shouldn't have gone and off of, and you paid the price, there you go. Too far, too fast equals a bad time. And when we're here on the planet, my goal, like I said, is to help as many people as possible have the greatest fun span possible while they're here, because life's meant for living. But so many people do it, they're just unconscious the whole time. Or, and this is where I take issue with a lot of the spiritual community, people abdicating all of their infinite power to other people, promising to do something for them that they tell them they cannot do.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is, and I might piss some people off, but that's okay. It's okay to be mad. But there are a lot of people out there that I can't do, that I need the tarot cards to tell me what I should do, or I need the astrological chart to tell me what I should do, or I need this psychic to tell me because I don't know and I'm so lost. And you may be. But it's when people rely on things like that as a crutch and they give up all of their own power and ability, thinking that they may not do it. That's what I show people is, yes, you can.
Mm.
Yes, you are infinite, unlimited, eternal being. And yes, you just happen to have a body right now, but all you are is energy, your information, your frequency. Once you realize that and you actually know it, and I'm not talking about believe it, because there are plenty of people who've read the books, and they can spout a lot of stuff, but they don't actually know it because they've never actually done it. Knowledge, knowledge. I'll put it this way: knowledge is a poor substitute for belief.
Wow.
Or sorry, belief is a poor substitute for knowledge. Let me reverse that. No, I need to say it the other way. Belief is a poor substitute for knowledge. Nothing trumps knowledge.
Exactly. And I know we touched on the extrasensory abilities when young kids are introduced to this. But can you discuss the role of vibrovision in the white dove method and how it helps individuals develop extrasensory perceptions?
Yes. Well, vibrovision is simply one part of the white dove method.
Mm-hmm.
So I do teach that. Yes. I also teach the energetic healing and the transcension of consciousness, if that's a word, transcendence of consciousness. So vibrovision is beautiful, but it is a parlor trick. Mm-hmm. It's what in India they would call the siddhis. These are the abilities, the bilocation, the seeing without your eyes, the hearing from a distance. Those are great things if people develop them. But when people want to develop those so they can prove they're cooler than other people, that's just spiritual masturbation and egotism. And I have no need for that. So I don't I teach people those skills because they are part of the white dove method, yes. But the white dove method encompasses much more than just those things. So I don't focus on the woohoo, yay, I did it kind of thing and pat myself on the back. Because once again, that's egotism that keeps you limited. I'd much rather teach people to go, oh my God, wait, oh my me, because I am the unlimited eternal being. And that doesn't mean that you just create a new universe just like this. And it doesn't mean you have dominion over or power over anyone else or should take away their freedoms. Not at all. But to realize that you think more than you know, and you know a whole lot more than you think.
Let me ask you this. What kind of transformations do you most commonly see in individuals who fully engage with your training programs?
I can't even tell you how many people have decided to stay on the planet because when they came to us with severe anxiety, PTSD, depression issues, problems in their life. That's one thing as a martial arts instructor, and I'm not quite sure how this came about, but you become quite the counselor and grief counselor and the everything counselor for so many people of all ages that they confide in you to solve their problem or tell them what they should do.
Yeah.
It's that doesn't really happen with like tennis coaches, but somehow being able to kick people in the face qualifies you to do that. But here's an interesting, cool thing is the desire for people in the martial arts, whether it's your local Taekwondo studio that they don't do any meditation, MMA gyms, I think probably mostly not, but or it's say a Merpati school where it's a deeply spiritual and energetically connected, or you're at a yoga studio where it's deeply spiritually, energetically connected. All of these things, people look at people who do these and are qualified to do them, actually qualified and certified as authority figures. And when they see that authority figure, they go to authority figures when they need help or they need advice. So I think for me on the spiritual level, beyond anything on the physical, which there are numerous reversals of disease and all kinds of beautiful transformations, having people want to be alive and enjoy their life more than they ever thought possible, whether they had millions of dollars or anything else, to realize that they're here for a purpose. That purpose is experience. They can't shut it off. It's ongoing, and they get the choice and the power to choose what they prefer. And the harder their experience, that gives them fuel to then choose something different. Like I said, I'm not interested very much in the razzmatazz. It's okay. It's great. And for the people who resonate with that, fantastic. I look upward on the Hawkins scale as high as possible, because when it comes down to true enlightenment and oneness and unity, there's no separation. And all those abilities do is prove for a lot of people that they're separate from other people or better than. And I'm just not interested in that.
Yeah. You talked about energy management a minute ago. Well, we were talking about energy. And I want to ask you about the concept of energy management, and the way that you teach it. How does it differ from the other energy practices that are out there, like Reiki,
Sure.
galactic energy healing? I'm just wondering, how does your method sort of, contrast or differ from the other energy methods out there?
Well, first of all, that's a great question, Jason. Thank you for asking it. That's fantastic. So, when it comes down to Reiki or galactic energy management, when it comes down to, let's say, the power of eight that
Hmm.
Dr. Joe got from Lynn McTaggart, who got it from someone else, that those are channeling modalities. So, they are using our power of the mind to tap into the quantum, to take energy from somewhere or all of there, from something or everything, and bring it through you to put it into someone else. And that's beautiful. I've seen amazing results. I do it myself. I love it. In White Dove method, integrated ascension method, we become the powerhouse. We are the storage center for the energy. So by building our energy and storing it in our body, and then being able to use our consciousness to project it into someone else, we take human energy into human energy in order to facilitate the healing. And then we can also do it in combination with those things before. So we become a much stronger conduit than most people. Now, there are many people who are gifted, but here's the interesting thing about having a gift. If you come in and you're a prodigy, what that means, though, is other people can't do it. There's only been one Mozart, one Da Vinci. Why? There have been billions of people since then. They were a prodigy. They were the one who could do what they did. No one else could do it. So if we rely on those people, and I'm not knocking them at all, I think they're beautiful, wonderful souls. I'm so glad they're here. But every single human has the ability to empower themselves in some way. And we're just coming out now into this spiritual revolution.
Yes.
Where people en masse are not looking at the white coats or the black, the people with the white right here in the black dresses tell them religious and spirituality or only medicine, and you believe what the people in the white coats say with your prognosis. We're seeing this amazing transformation amongst humanity at large, realizing that we are the medicine and we can do a lot. Maybe not everything. Break your leg? Sure. Have the doctors set that leg and maybe put a rod in there to make it so it will heal properly. For sure. That's trauma medicine. But when it comes down to our spirituality, like Dr. Joe said, in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. And so all I'm doing Mine, honestly, the white dove method, it's different. Yes, everything's different from everything else. Thus, variety is the spice of life. But when you think about it, it's really plain vanilla in a lot of ways because it's just based upon breath. It's based upon doing it in a very certain way in order to get a certain result and have the longest, best life you can. So, my biggest, I think that the white dove method and my integrated ascension method is beautiful for those it calls to. But if you're called to Reiki, do Reiki. If you're called galactic energy healing, do that. If you want to do
Yeah.
ayahuasca in the jungles of Peru and heal people that way, awesome. Here's the only thing that really bothers me is when people live 85 years and all they did is live the same day over and over, and they didn't live 85 years. They just lived one day for 85 years worth of time. So
Of the
go
experience.
experience, have
Yeah.
fun. You only get this ride once. Maybe you do it billions of times, but you get this one this time.
No, what
This
I was saying was that was the experience. That's what Source wanted. It was to live this mundane, and Dolores Cannon called it meat
true,
and potato life.
true.
So some people, the experience for some people is just what it is. Your
This is true.
experience is on another level. It's you know what you're doing right now was meant to be. This is what you planned when you were in the spiritual realm.
That's right.
So everybody has a place to be, and you know, and then you
Well,
just look at people, Nate, and you say, "Wow, you could be doing X, Y, Z, or you could be," and then you just think about the broadness of this universe and consciousness itself, and Source is experiencing every shred of energy in this entire universe
yeah,
at the same time.
no.
So isn't that amazing?
It's beyond. It's like you can't even fathom it. And then if you also take into account that there are many things in frequencies and vibrations and waves and that we don't even have any way to measure, and it's in charge and aware of all of that too.
Wow. Can you tell the
So
audience? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no. It's just it blows my mind. I love thinking about it. It makes the brain hurt a little bit, but that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing because when just like with your muscles, when you strain them, they grow. Same thing with your mind.
I was wanting you to talk to the audience for a moment. Tell them about yourself. I mean, not about yourself. They know who you are, about your services. But can you connect it closer? We've had some high level conversation on this show the past 58 minutes, but can you bring it home closer so that they can really understand how to work with you
Yeah.
and where to find you and what exactly you can offer them when they're dealing with whatever they're going through in their life?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm really glad you brought that up because I have two different kinds of programs that people can actually do online in the safety and the comfort of their own home when they're ready to do it and at their own pace. If they work with me directly, it's pretty high ticket. Second of all, it is an immersion like you would not even believe. You have to be physically, mentally, and emotionally ready to work with me because I will cram decades or like literally a decade worth of training into a 5-day experience for you. I don't, yeah, it's it's hard. But when it comes to being at home, I have my master class. Now, my master class is it's brilliant for people who are just getting into the energy workspace or breath work and they want to learn a little bit different kind of breath work. So things like how to use your breath to eliminate pain, how to heal your body, how to use certain rotational movements in order to create pain-free mobility in your body, how to start to feel, flow, project and
Mhm.
sense energy outside your body in a different way that even Reiki masters they usually have 3 words. Oh my God. That's this typical thing for Reiki masters when they do this one. And then how to refresh and revitalize your energy literally in 2 minutes, almost anywhere. If you're skydiving, you wouldn't want to do it, or driving a car, you wouldn't want to do it, but almost anywhere, very quickly using a very interesting breath pressurization technique that it's pretty amazing. Plus energy shielding. So we all know what it's like to be around energy vampires. And if you can be like Wonder Woman's bracelets, block, 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 and it's just automatic. You don't have to think about it. It's pretty amazing. So that's the masterclass. But then my LEAP program, that's my Life Force Energy Ascension Protocol. This is for the people who really want to step into this hard style breath work where you literally feel like you're bending the matrix. It takes you step by step. I take you step by step by the hand through the basic movements, through the basic breathwork patterns, through the combination of them both. And when it comes down to building the energy in your body, increasing your health, increasing your immune system, increasing your libido, I'll get to that in a second because that's coming up, increasing your ability to sense the energy of other people and the things around you, whether you're using your eyes or not. That's the LEAP program. And that is one where it's a higher investment. But if you think about it, I like to ask people this question. If I gave you $1 million right now, no strings attached, just because I love you, you'd probably be grateful. But what if I offered you $10 million? But with the caveat that you don't get tomorrow at midnight tonight, you die. Would you take $10 million? I've never had anybody say, yes, I would take $10 million, knowing I only have 8 hours left on the planet. So what that tells me is that every single day that we get is worth more than $10 million. The LEAP program is the one that helps increase your lung capacity, is going to help give you more of those days. And it's also going to help you feel very electrified, very energized, and very calm and present in all of your time while you're on the planet, as long as you remember. And that's what I'm here to do, is help you remember. And so the LEAP program, that's where I would start for anybody who's actually serious about improving their health, their energetic awareness, their meditative abilities, and actually developing some superhuman powers, which you'll find out along the way as you develop them. But now I have a new program coming out, and I haven't even told you about this, Jason. This is an amazing program that is my Eros program. So Eros is a Greek word for love. So just alone, the erectile dysfunction market is $4.7 billion a year.
Wow.
Just for ED. Now, that's for men, but women also have issues, and men of all ages have issues that are not just related to that. So I have a program that I'm going to be filming, and that's coming up very soon. So you definitely want to go and get my free course on my website. And also with one of these programs before it, because it will tie into the Eros program. I just worked with a lawyer, an 85-year-old man. 68-year-old man. And he said that he's been having trouble for years in that department. And we did this exercise as a group, and clothes on, no, nothing like that. But we did this breath work in this very specific energy development exercise for down there. And it was the first time he had felt, I'll say movement down there in about 2 years. And it took 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Wow.
So if you don't need a blue pill that have all kinds of side effects, and instead you have the power, literally you have the power in all the cells of your body to bring back enjoyment of, really, when you think about it, it's the best part of our life while we're on the planet. If it wasn't, there wouldn't be 8 billion of us, and all of us got here that same way. And I can tell you, and I'm sure you could agree, Jason, there's something really as a man that really is important, that if you're not in that, you're not able to work there, there's something missing in your life. And your partner, they definitely agree with that too. So this is not just for men, it's also for women. So when you go to my website, which is iampure.energy, so iampure.energy, not .com, .energy. And when you get one of my programs, if you use the coupon code MEDLOCK10, Jason's last name, 10, you get 10% off any of my programs. And then you will be first in line to know when I pre-release the Eros program. I already have it all scripted. All it comes down now is shooting it and producing it. And it's going to, I know it's going to save a lot of relationships. We've already done that with the White Dove Method over the past 24 years. We've seen so many marriages saved. And people going from their 50s acting like they're in their 20s naturally.
So this information would be in the show notes, coupon Medlock 10, along with Nate's website and his social media handles. But wow, absolutely incredible. Incredible. I just want to thank you for coming on today. I mean, we're at an hour and something, but it was an hour full of information and full of insights that have been incredibly enlightening to all of us. Your journey and methods you've developed really testify to the power of integrating this ancient wisdom that you so skillfully have integrated with modern science to unlock our full potential. Is absolutely astonishing. And I'm going to get on your website as well. And I need, because I'm working, well, not I am working. It's almost like I've been using the same breath work forever. This Kalapate breath. And I've been using that breath. And it's almost like it's getting too easy to use. It's not affecting my pineal gland the way I want it to. And I use the Kalapate breath to open and to oxidize the pineal gland so that I could move deeper into this meditation. I'm a transcendental meditator, and to manifest quicker, and to really be able to see clear with the third eye. And it's so easy. It's not giving me that woozy effect anymore. It used to give me the woozy effect. And I'm like, oh God, I can really feel it. But now I'm so used to it. I don't know what that is, but I need to do something different.
Yeah, well, and I've got something different, that's for sure. And something like I can guarantee you, Jason, for everybody out there, if you do the integrated ascension method breath work, the LEAP program right, you will never, and I mean never, say this is getting too easy. Ever. Not once. Ever. But no matter if you hold your breath, 10 seconds one day and a minute and 10 seconds the next day, you will always do your very best every single day, and you will always feel better because of it at the end of it. And the energy lasts for a long time. It's amazing. So thank you so much for having me on your show. To everyone out there listening, viewing, if somebody dropped a mixtape to you of this, well, I don't care. Have a great now, not just a great day. Have a great now on purpose.
Yes. Awesome. Stay there, Nate. We have some unfinished business we got to talk about. Give me 1 second to close the show out. I'll be right to you. Okay. All right, guys. What an awesome show that we had with Nate Zeleznick. He's a wonderful, exciting person that is full of knowledge, and someone that I'm going to start to engage with my breathwork journey as I, continue to expand my consciousness and different things I want to do with my life. But to our listeners, if Nate's story has sparked a curiosity in you to explore your capabilities, I think perhaps, you may even discover your superhuman side. But I urge you to delve deeper. Visit Nate's website to learn more about the integrated ascension and the white dove method. Both of them are outstanding. And consider enrolling in one of his groundbreaking programs. And they're designed not only for just the average everyday person, but you can be a business person. And then we talked about athletes, but it's for anyone looking to enhance their physical and their mental and spiritual well-being in a profound way. Whether you're seeking to overcome personal limitations or aiming to elevate your performance, Nate offers a path that combines age-old techniques with the forefront of scientific research. And just remember that Nate has shown us the potential within each of us is boundless. And we talked about out-of-body experiences. We talked about some of the breathwork techniques that will just absolutely blow you away. But it's up to you to make the first move towards unlocking it. So join us the next time on the expansion of consciousness as we continue to meet fascinating people, and uncover different ways that allow you to push the extraordinary into your life, into what you want. So until then, keep challenging your limits and exploring the depths of your spirit. Remember, trust, relax, and discover. Thank you so much, and you have a good night.